in Egypt, or from Egypt, but living in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Thank you for posting. Please post, if you just joined, please post on the chat where you live so that we can find out if all 12 countries that said they were going to be represented today showed up. Dr. Lopez, it's nice to see you today.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Hello. Thank you for joining. Amanda from Surprise. Hello again, Amanda. Mustafa from Saudi Arabia. Hello again, Mustafa. And Hussein. And Zaire from Oman. Nice to have you today. Question, would I send the link a bit earlier? I did send it today about 8 minutes or so early. But if it needs to come a little earlier than that, I can certainly do that. Hello, Zahir. Where are you from, Zahir? And Saida from Azerbaijan. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, but welcome. Living in Ankara, Turkey. We have 16 so far that have entered. Please enter where your country, where you live or work on the chat room, please. And if you have your microphone not muted, could you please mute your microphone? So Zahir, would you tell us where you are, where you live, where you work? Put on the chat room, please. And Riam and Reem. And so to all of those that haven't added where you live, if you'd put that on the chat board, that would be great. Okay, Zahir, I'm sorry you did say, and you're from Oman. Thank you. Well, we'll start our session and we'll still give a few minutes for those to join us. But our session today is on stress. And we know it's not possible to avoid stress these days. It is a very stressful time in the world. So today we're going to have an opportunity to learn a little bit more what we can do, how we can help children, and how we can help our students, and just how we can learn a few tactics and techniques that might eliminate or at least handle some of the stress that we're feeling. And boy, some of us around the world have a lot more stress than others. One of our students that lives in Italy has said that they have had so many people with the coronavirus and that have passed away that it affects literally everyone knows somebody that has been seriously affected with sadness, severe illness, or death. And that kind of stress is just really problematic. It's such a challenge to handle those kinds of things. So we're going to do our best to learn all we can about it today and help each other think of ways that can contribute to what we do as teachers, since we're all role models for our students and for others and for our peers and for our families. It's a great challenge that we have ahead, and I'm really pleased to have you join today. I'm a very lucky woman because I'm married to a psychologist, and he actually assisted me today in this presentation providing. He's dealt with a lot of people who have been involved in stress over the years. He's retired now, but he helped think of some of the things that he used to recommend to people that were in severe stress, and things that are, some of them are tiny things that we don't always know we can do that, and for a moment or two feel better, relax for a minute, enjoy something for a minute. So thank you all for joining. If you have just joined, thank you for keeping your microphone muted, but please do contribute to the chat board and tell us where you're from if you've not yet. And I see that Alassane, an Egyptian working in a British school in Saudi Arabia, Abdullah from Oman, of course, and Zahir and Suda have introduced themselves, and Hussein. We appreciate very much you coming today. Andrew from Hong Kong, welcome. It's very late at night or early in the morning for you. We appreciate, I guess you are staying up late. So the clock doesn't seem to affect people as much now, where it seems like we're online a lot of times. So, goodness, it's weekend. Yes, indeed it is. And anyone else that hasn't written where they're from yet, would you do that now, please? I'm going to go ahead and mute those of you that haven't muted yourself, so that we will have a chance to hear when the presentation begins. So thank you. We've got 22 so far. There's supposed to be about 40, so we'll wait just a few more minutes to have people join, and then in about 3 minutes we'll go ahead and officially start the session. Again, okay, we've got looking at where people live, very interesting. And Jesse from Arizona, welcome. Some of you I have seen before. I'm sorry? The schedule is on our website. Is that what you mean? That we have a schedule of sessions all for next week that are posted on the website. And yes, there is. It was just posted actually this morning early. So it is posted for next week, and then we'll have another one out at the end of next week for the week after. We're going to be having sessions for the rest of April and all of May. So every week we're going to have things that you might like to share with other teachers. You're very welcome to submit your presentation to me, and I'll put my email address on there, and then we'll have our professors review it, and if we believe that it's going to be helpful to people, we'll include you in as a presenter in some of the sessions. So I am hopeful that some of you that think you have some things that worked with your students that would help other teachers, that you'll feel free to share.
هي كامل أو جوجل تيجي كلاس روم كان أي
Okay, please mute. I've tried to mute everybody. So I have posted my email address, and again, if you have ideas in the next week or 2 or 3 that you would like to share with teachers, then do a mini presentation, send it to me. Tell me if you want it to show it as a presentation and you narrate it, or if you've already narrated it and you present it to me, then I'll have the group of professors review it with me, and we'll determine if we want to present it. So there are 22 of you that have joined right now, and I think we'll go ahead and start the presentation. I want to first of all welcome one of our senior professors that is attending today, Dr. Cynthia Lopez. She lives in Texas, and she and I will be, and Dr. Susan Taffer, it lives in Arizona, and these two professors are going to be discussing at the end of the presentation some of the things that we have learned providing online education from Acacia that help with stress in your lives as teachers or administrators, and to help you help students. And then we're going to open it to any of you that would like to share information or say things. So I'm going to begin to share my screen and then to begin the presentation. Again, welcome everyone. I'm Marilyn Henley, and I'm a professor at Acacia University, and joining me is Dr. Cynthia Lopez and Dr. Susan Taffer. We're very excited to be able to present these free sessions to you as teachers all over the world struggle with how to adapt and be effective in your online teaching, and how to help your students so that they don't lose that sense of being identity with a classroom or with a school. Stress is inevitable. During this period of time, there is no way to avoid it. We just have to handle it and deal with it as effectively as we can, and to always remember that we are models for others. Today's objectives, we're going to look at the causes of stress. We're going to be looking at factors to recognize in yourself or others, some tips for handling personal stress, some strategies for helping children deal with stress, and even some strategies for families that have stress, because everyone has stress. We're going to look then at the end of implications. What does all of this information we know have to do with what we do as teachers in this dreadful time? There are a lot of causes of stress in everyone's life, and particularly in our lives right now, dealing with the worldwide stress. There are environmental stresses, such as we have. A pandemic is something that we didn't cause. It just happened in our life. It's a situation of stress that we're all in a situation together, and we are not able to plan ahead. We don't know what the future of this situation is going to bring, and that even causes more stress. We know that stresses happen in families, particularly now when families are worried, they're out of work, or they're at home working, their children are at home, maybe they have multiple children, and maybe there are stressful information and that is coming to them about relatives who are ill, about neighbors that have passed away, about relatives that are extremely sick and they can't see them. There are all kinds of family stresses, and it's not unlikely that somebody, a child or an adult in the family, is cranky. And if somebody has stress, it rubs off on everyone. Health is the big issue and stress issue with everyone right now. Worried about our own health, worried about the health of our loved ones and our friends. And it is unavoidably stressful, but taking care of ourselves and handling this stress is so important. We have work stress. Excuse me. Can you please mute your microphone? Can you please mute your microphone? I asked, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Would you please mute your microphone? The lack of confidence, the work stresses of not knowing if you're going to have a job or when you're going back to your job, or what the world is going to be like that you're going to be able to provide through your work, for your family, for yourself, is an enormous stress. And it contributes to our lack of confidence in the future, our wondering of what's going to happen, our lack of confidence in our ability to handle the future, or in our family's ability to handle the future. That can sometimes lead to the lack of hope or our faith. It can rattle our belief in things that are good, our belief in God, our belief that we can be hopeful because everything will work out just fine. Because right now we're unsure. And then, of course, the severity of stress in relationships. We all affect each other. And again, if one person is extremely stressed in a family, it kind of spreads to everyone else. So, in terms of recognizing stress in ourselves, we kind of know when we're getting to be stressed. We can feel anxious, we're lonely, we're frustrated. We find ourselves not being able to pay real close attention to what we're doing. We feel distracted. We feel kind of at wit's ends. We have lost interest in some of the things that used to provide us joy. We're losing our interest in some of those things. Maybe we have reckless behavior. We're driving too fast, or we know we shouldn't go someplace, but we do anyway. We take a risk going into a store. We don't wear a mask. We have behaviors that could be seen as reckless. We sometimes overindulge with food, overindulge with drinking, whatever. I laughed at a little thing on Facebook the other day. Someone said, we're all turning into dogs. We wander around the house looking for things to eat, and we get excited if we get to go on a walk or go in the car. And I thought, that's pretty true, that a lot of us now are confined to home. We are more like dogs in that we don't know what to do other than eat and go on walks and just hold it together. It can be very depressing. And sometimes we recognize that in ourselves, that we're just simply depressed about something. And once we get depressed, we lose hope, and we start to worry so much. That's when stress really becomes an issue that we have to deal with and have to handle. And all of us have pieces of these kinds of stress in us now, but learning on how to identify them in others, help ourselves and help others, is all important. In others, we can see sometimes in children, in family members, in our friends, if they're sad. We can also see it come out sometimes in aggressiveness, or when they're distracted or edgy, or they get on people's nerves, or if they cry a lot, if they are totally isolating themselves, they don't want to be near anyone else, they are very angry, they look depressed, you can see it in their face, in their expressions, and they look like they just are not there, without hope. In terms of handling stress, a lot of these ideas are from the WebMD website, and a lot are from my husband, a psychologist who has dealt with people handling stress over the years. Some of these things are easy, simple, tiny things that, if we can remember to do, help us at least a little bit. The first two things are things that we can tell ourselves. Let's exercise more. Let's do deep breathing. Let's stretch. Let's relax muscles. Let's really take care of ourselves. But truthfully, the number one thing that doctors and psychologists recommend for people that are experiencing stress is exercise. If you can walk, if you can do calisthenics, if you can stretch, if you can raise yourself up and down in a chair, if you can shrug your shoulders up and then down, if you can take deep breaths, count to 4 and exhale, and then take another one. These little things really contribute to handling stress. Another thing that really helps when your body is stressed, your mind is stressed, your soul is stressed, that you eat well. And by well, I don't mean all of the cake and donuts and cookies that you can find, but well meaning food that is good for you, that can energize you, and that you enjoy. But eat moderately instead of just completely taking out your frustration on food. And I'm sure you don't do that, but I know some people that do that. One thing that we tend to do if we're stressed is try to move fast. We flip from here, we flip from there. We try to do too much and we try to do too fast. And what we need to do is slow down, take breaks. And my husband and I have found over the years a tiny break that you can take is to go outside wherever you live, on a deck, a porch, a stair step, the forest, the desert, wherever it is, and just breathe and look at the sky, look at the skyline, look at the trees, look at the buildings, look down the street, just observe something that is around you, your environment, wherever it is, whatever kind of environment it is, and just take a break from what you're doing or what is so worrisome. Step outside of your house into the air, feel the heat, feel the wind, feel the cool, feel that drizzle, feel the rain, the whatever temperature it is, just for a minute. Breathe and look at your surroundings. Sometimes it helps you get a sense of you're part of the world, and it gives you some hope. Things will get better. It won't always be this hard. And you can find something to smile about. Sometimes the sky will put on a symphony. Clouds will float by, or you'll see birds, or you'll see an airplane flying by, or whatever it is, to give you a sense of something bigger than yourself. If you can meditate or reflect or pray, whatever kind of moments of silence that you can take inside yourself, even if your life is so frazzled and so hectic and so fearful right now, taking those moments, just moments to close your eyes and think about yourself, can tell yourself that things will get better. Meditate or pray or reflect. Reflect on those wonderfully happy times somewhere in your past. And by doing that, sometimes you can think of, what did I used to do for fun? What did I used to have a hobby doing? Is it reading? Is it making crafts out of simple objects, or drawing? Or is it singing or dancing or making up a poem or writing a short story, or chatting with a friend I haven't seen for a long time? What is a hobby that used to bring me joy that I could do? And maybe Gina, please mute your microphone. Thank you. You can make time for hobbies or start a new puzzle. Having a family time that you read a story or that you build on a story, just a sentence or two around, and see if you can do something to make yourself laugh. Gina, please mute your microphone.
Hey, Gina, everybody can hear you.
Situation is to talk about our problems as a family. Excuse me, I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment to make sure that people are muted. Thank you. Making time for hobbies could be working a puzzle, having a huge big jigsaw puzzle on a little space someplace that everybody in the family can contribute here and there. Talking about your problems as a family is ideal, but that doesn't always happen, and it's not always possible, and sometimes it doesn't work. But talking to a problem about a friend, talking about it with your spouse or your parent or one of your children, just saying, this is a tough situation we're in, and kind of letting them talk and you talk. Sometimes that is just really helpful to put it into a perspective. The final thing about handling personal stress is being kind to ourselves. We tend to get so tough on ourselves. We tend to think of ourselves less than we are. Maybe we've made mistakes. Maybe we didn't do something right. Maybe we yelled at someone. Maybe we are feeling so frustrated we've taken our anger out or our frustration out on someone else and made them feel bad. We've got to forgive ourselves and be kind to ourselves. We have blessings in our lives. All of us do. And sometimes we aren't kind to ourselves to remember within ourselves that we can take it easy on ourselves and on others. Be more forgiving. Be more forgiving of yourself. Look at life as you have gotten blessings in the past, and there will be more in the future. So don't be hard on yourself. Remember that everyone is feeling the kinds of things that you probably are too. And if we are kind to ourselves, it helps us be able to be kind to others. We're going to focus the attention now on helping children in this stressful time. And as teachers and educators, we need to know the developmental levels of our children so that we can keep these in mind as we hold our class meetings, as we send home assignments, as we figure out what we're going to do with children to help them learn. There's 4 main domains in every human being: the physical, the cognitive, social, emotional, and adaptive. Physical has to do, that's easy to observe. Our kids, are they taking care of their bodies? Are they in good health? Do they take care of their health? And knowing how much sleep they might need. Little children and growing children need a lot of sleep, a lot more than adults need. In cognitive, it's how they learn. Are they able to learn well? Can they communicate? Do they listen? What kinds of things do children know at various age levels? What should they be expected to know in high school versus 4th grade versus preschool? How does a child relate to other children? And how do children relate to adults? The social emotional is the most important thing that contributes to stress, because we all have emotions and we can't right now be as social as we usually are. And how kids relate to each other and how kids relate to adults is supremely important during this time of online education. Adaptive has to do with how can they adapt? Do they know to look both ways before crossing a street? Can they dress themselves? Do they dress appropriately? Can they adapt to the norms of society? And these are things that we should know for whatever grade level we're teaching. And a school administrator should know about these domains for all grade levels. Children demonstrate their stress in different ways. You can see most of these in a classroom. You can't see a lot of these online, but this is how we see them, and they demonstrate it. And when we see these or hear of these or get the clue, when we listen to them, if we interact with them in tiny groups, individually, or in a whole group during the week as a teacher, we need to look for these signs that indicate stress. If they're not interacting at all, if they want to monopolize and be the only one getting attention, if they can't do work because they're frustrated, they're fearful, they're worried. We know that most human beings in the world at this time have some of these feelings. We must look out for our kids. They're so fragile during this period of time. And as adults, we seem to be able to cope better than a lot of children can. So when we see these kinds of situations with children, what we need to do as teachers is check our lesson plans and what we're doing as teachers online. Are we giving children activities and assignments that where they can collaborate, where they feel supportive? Are there opportunities for them to work together? Can they feel successful? Do you provide some fun or casual moments, sharing moments, laughter, something funny, something humorous, even for that moment in time that you're with them? Your positive behavior must shine through to the kids, because if they don't see the teacher, if they see these symptoms recognized in the teacher, it's going to make them more fearful and more stressed. So sometimes getting the students to suggest the kinds of questions or the kinds of activities that they would like to study is a very important thing to do. Are your lesson plans developmentally appropriate? When teachers collaborate together, or the principal or leader of the school collaborates with teachers, these are important questions to ask, because now during distance learning, we have to think less is more. We can't give students exactly the same activities we were giving them when we had them in a classroom, and we cannot give them the same homework. We just cannot. We're going to lose students. We're going to lose their ability to love school or engage in school. So, an educator, Richard Strong, said that that all kids need student engagement, and it can reduce stress if they feel success, if they still maintain curiosity, if they're allowed to create and think of things and self-express, and if they have some involvement with others. And children are stuck at home, can't go to kids' houses to play. So we have to give some ideas for them and help when we talk to them. The social emotional growth and the self-esteem of kids often is solely dependent on how the teachers and parents model this and support them. So you have a key role and a huge responsibility. Not only are you teachers, but many of you are parents too. And so your role doubles, because you now have to be, you have to project something. You have to be healthy enough in your own stress level that you can model this positive behavior to your own children and family and to those that you are working with. For parents, you may want to suggest some things to do at home, some simple things, playing games, making up games to play, reading, drawing, coloring, all of these kinds of things for parents. That some parents just don't know what to do now. Their kids are running wild. They don't seem to pay attention. They're not contributing. It makes the parents anxious. The parents are trying to work from home. They have other responsibilities. They're worried about health and food and money and everything else. So if parents can become more in control of stress and handle that and realize some of the needs that children and that adolescents have, they'll be much easier. It will help them a little. We're not saying it's going to cure the stress. We know it can't cure, but helping it. One psychologist has always said, if you've got, the more music you have in your life in general, the happier the people are. Dancing, singing, listening to music, playing music around the house, letting kids listen to their own music, whatever, but music seems to be very therapeutic. Some other strategies for families that are really important are to set schedules and establish routines. And it could be on the refrigerator to hang a chart and just say the family schedule. You know, everybody has from this time to this time to eat breakfast and clean their room. And from this time to this time is on their own. They can do this, that, or the other. And then there's a private time, a work time, a family time. And it's recommended that you eat at least one meal where you actually sit for 15 or 20 minutes together at a table or on a couch. Then you eat together. And during that time, you share happy memories, you share pictures, you try to think of anything funny you've seen on Facebook or anything funny that can bring some kind of momentary light into the family's darkness. Spend time outside. The more that you can take those dogs on a walk, the more you can take your kids on a walk, the more that you can play a game outside, play catch, throw a frisbee, draw on the sidewalk. Anything that you could do together outside is healthy. If you can do something inside together, whether it's putting together a collage of everybody draws pictures on this big piece of paper, or everyone puts together a puzzle piece, or everyone has a story starter and then everyone adds a plot to the story, or becomes a character in the story and tells what the character does. Embarking on a project. One family built a birdhouse together and then see if they could attract birds. Or they did a web quest together to find out something about something and then put together some kind of brochure. They planned a family vacation together. Anything that we can do for that. So, in closing, we need to discuss and think about what are the implications of knowing these things about stress. What's the implication for you? How can we help students? And how can we help families? These are the 3 questions then, now that I'm going to open up for our discussion among our professors for just a few minutes, and then for all of you to contribute. And so one by one, you can unmute and you contribute other things. Before I end this presentation, I just wanted to mention again, Acacia University is only a graduate school and provides professional development for teachers. That's all we do at Acacia. We have 5 master's programs, 1 doctoral program, and professional development for teachers. We want to help you. And if you are ready to extend your educational adventure, or want professional development, or want graduate credit, please check out our, because we believe that teachers hold the key to success in the world. And if we want this world to improve, to heal, and to be a kinder place, it's up to educators. Thank you so much for listening and watching. And now I'd like to have Dr. Taffer and Dr. Lopez, if you would share a few of your thoughts from our experience in Acacia and your professions in education. You both have had extensive professions in education throughout the US and world. Share some thoughts about ideas or anything that implications for teachers.
Thank you, Dr. Henley. I'll be happy to share. I loved what you provided for everyone today. And I just want to say that adults are not really too much different in relationship to children when it comes to learning. One, if you keep it simple, it's going to be easier to absorb and integrate and apply. And that's the best thing to help alleviate the stress of something, is to just kind of keep it simple. And as human beings, I think we maybe sometimes overcomplicate things, but right now it's a time when being simple as how we need to approach managing our children, our families, and helping others to educate our kids when they are stuck at home. So the main thing is to keep it fun and enjoyable, whatever that is for, your children. You know what excites them or entices them or engages them. And so keep it fun, keep it safe. Whatever the environment is, if you have an educator that's providing your children some information, Zoom, online, make sure that their place that they go to learn and listen is safe for them and comfortable and inspires them. And also keep it a little challenging, but not hard. We all been in the situation where we like to have a little bit of challenge as we learn, but making it hard is just not the place or the time for making things too hard. Rigor is a value. Right now, it's more about engaging and keeping it simple and understandable, and provide them structure with a certain amount of freedom. Kids like choices, but not too many. Adults like choices, but we find that if there are way too many choices, our heads are going against the wall, like, which one do I take? So, and those things are very simple techniques. Marilyn, Dr. Henley presented that in her PowerPoint today, and I just sort of encapsulated what you offered. So thank you very much. I appreciate being here.
Thank you, Dr. Taffer. Dr. Lopez?
Yes, and thank you, Marilyn. Just listening to your presentation de-stressed me. Your calmness, your information was very informative. So I appreciate many of the suggestions. I would like to add that because we have different learning styles and different ways of dealing with calmness, I appreciate your comment about we have to be the role models. And if we're stressed, that comes across. So we need to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others. One of the things that I do, and it's just a personal thing, because I'm a writer, and you don't have to be a writer. I do a lot of journaling. And journaling in old-fashioned terms used to be a diary. And because when you journal, you're able to, and I have a little book, and I always start my journaling with maybe 2 or 3, sometimes 5 blessings, things that I'm grateful for, because it places me in a better mindfulness and a better mindset. And then I just, I talk to the journal because it doesn't talk back to me. And write down things that I find are maybe stressful, or things that I'm wondering about, or things that I would like to solve, because I feel that in the future, I will be able to go back through this time and find out some of those feelings that I had that maybe were resolved or not resolved. And a lot like writing becomes a legacy. Writing becomes something that lives forever. So journaling, reflection through journaling is for me, a very calm, they're almost therapeutic time. And I set aside time, whether it's in the morning or at night. I need to set aside 15 minutes just to journal. If nobody bothers me, I just write. And of course, I do my writing in the old-fashioned way, not with a computer, because that always gives me the freedom to freestyle my writing. So that's another way of de-stressing for some individuals, and maybe for many. Another thing that I find very helpful, and this is something that I've seen other people do that I've started, is we talked about structured freedom or having consistency and mindfulness. If you don't practice exercising every day or practice going out to look at nature every day and just do it when you feel that stress, it doesn't become part of your routine. And I think that experiencing mindfulness and calmness should be part of your routine. Like starting out your day with an exercise, or starting off your day with a mindful exercise. There is an app on Google called and it is an app that provides mindfulness music. It provides advice, meditation, visualization. It provides activities for the morning if you need them, activities for the midday if you need them, and activities for the night. It also takes you through the deep breathing with timing, so that you have someone else there telling you how to breathe, when to breathe, with background music that you can select. So I have found this app to be very informative, and I've explored it. I try it sometimes, but I think that when you need someone else to talk to, there's the app that can guide you through that mindfulness, that mindset, and give you that consistency that we often need to de-stress. And I just wanted to add those 2 items because you have very comprehensive lists, but being that we all have different learning styles, we may want to use also technology to bring them
Oh, that's an excellent idea, Dr. Lopez.
ourselves. And thank you so much for the opportunity of meeting everybody.
Please share what app that is with us on the chat. That
Sure.
would be wonderful to know, so that there's an app for that. So if you can write it on the chat, that would be wonderful. And yes, journaling, I'm so happy that you mentioned that. And I definitely will add that to the list. At this time, then, is there any other person that would like to contribute or add any ideas that you have, or things that I know in the chat, some people wrote about people being overwhelmed with too many assignments, that kids and parents are complaining. That is a huge issue, and we've got to take care of that. We cannot do the same assignments online education as we do when they're in classroom. We have to take care of our children now, and they cannot do that. We must, as educators, change the way that that's going on. Is there anyone that has a thought or comment on that?
Olmaz. Ben müellim değilim burada. Şancı'da. Niye görüntü atmıyorsun? Şancı'da. Şancı'da görüntü.
Whoever is talking, are you talking to the group? Is there anyone that would like to add a comment, though, or a suggestion? I'm going to repeat this one. We're going to repeat it every Friday for the next 2 or 3 weeks, because I think we can all, even if we take this half hour, 45 minutes, to just sit and think about stress, and helping each other and ourselves with stress sometimes can be helpful in de-stressing ourselves. So we're going to offer this again. I probably will pre-record it so that it can just be by itself as a presentation, and help people that haven't maybe seen it just to stop and think about it. And I appreciate adding journaling and this mindfulness app. Thank you for that, Dr. Lopez. Is there anyone else that has a suggestion that I can add to the list? Breathing exercises, they're a very good idea. Breathing exercises and
Dr. Henley, I noticed that in the chat, there was one of our attendees mentioned that a lot of the parents were having difficulty with the kids having too many assignments. And I'm wondering if something that could provide those little mini breaks, if the children have an opportunity to do several mini breaks, it will help keeping them from being so intensely engaged at chunks of time. And I don't know if that's just a suggestion, or if there's something out there, like, of course, the meditation or dancing or music between assignments always helps. If you get kids up and moving, makes a great big difference.
thank you,
I
Dr. Chapman.
can interject a little bit on that.
Yes, Amanda.
So I do agree, and as a teacher, that's actually one of the things I tend to do with my kids is I offer mini breaks, and one of the apps that tends to work really, really well for my class, it's actually a website. It's called Go Noodle, and we do a Go Noodle, and it has like little dances, guided dances, or even like deep breathing. It has meditation. It has like kids Zumba. And I love to have them, like, in between while we're doing activities, do a Go Noodle. And it's just,
Can you write that in the chat? Can you write that, Amanda, that website, Go Noodle? Thank you so much for that idea. And I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead and finish telling about how you use it, but I wanted to make sure that you write it in the app so that we have it. Thank you. And tell us again how you use that with kids during the instruction.
yes, I do it. What I call it is I call it a brain break. And so I tell my kids, let's do a brain break. And if it's earlier in the day, I try to they have like meditation, deep breathing exercises in there, and it's all meant for kids. And then more in the afternoon, sometimes in the morning, if they're just a little too energetic, I'll do one of the other ones, but it has like guided dances, a lot of like the kids bop songs, and they can sing along to it. They can do the dance. It's a lot of it are like just really silly call and repeats, and it's just it makes them excited because to them it's a game, but it's just a little brain break for them to get up, move around, and transition from one activity to another.
Thank you, Amanda. You know, I do know the people that founded this app, and I have to tell you, I just went on while you were talking, and it's like, oh, how fun. It excites me. And I'm certainly not a kid, so it's like, I think that's beautiful. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you for these great ideas. I'm going to take things that you have mentioned on the chat board and incorporate them in next week's presentation. And if in the meantime you think of something that is inspired your thinking of what works for you, what works for your kids, or ideas to share with teachers who are struggling with this now, or families that are struggling with stress, please write to me and tell me, and so I can include those, or attend next week. Like I said, I'm going to be presenting this session for several weeks. One of us will be presenting it, or it'll just be a presentation by itself. Someone will host it, and we'll just help as many teachers as we can with ideas. So please do feel free to share your ideas with how you de-stress, and little things that we can share with teachers worldwide and families. So I want to thank Dr. Taffer, Dr. Lopez for joining today. I want to thank all of you for attending and for listening and for sharing your ideas. I appreciate the work you're doing. Teachers have the hardest job in the world, but to me, teachers have the best job in the world. So you are wonderful models and have a chance to make a huge difference. And so I appreciate you and thank you so much for attending today. So I'm going to end the meeting now. And again, thank you for attending. Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.